Hey everybody, so we're going to go over the frequency generator here, and we hooked it up in our last video with the USB power. I'm also including the plug that comes with it, the 5-volt power supply, and this is the audio plug right here, goes into the auxiliary port down here on the amplifier. This is your volume control right here, and there's a little stopper to stop it from overpowering the amplifier down below. And this is your controller, and these are your little switch buttons. So we're going to turn this on, and there's going to probably be a loud or high-pitched frequency. This is kilohertz here. So we're going to change that over here with this DDS button. I'm going to change that to hertz. Then these little selector buttons up here, we're going to switch that over one, and then we're going to change that to 0 with the selector knob. We're going to go down to here and leave that right there. Next, we want to save this, so next time you turn it on, you're set at 0. So we're going to go down here to this UDB button, and this allows us to change down to the bottom settings down here. And then we're going to select up here on the top different options here. Most of this stuff is all for hooking up to an oscilloscope for testing equipment and stuff, but we want to come to the save function here. So save function will allow us to press the DDS button again, and it presses OK. So now next time you turn it on or turn it off, will be set to 0 hertz. Well, it still goes back to kilohertz, so just change that with the DDS button again, and you are set once you push this all the way back to the decimal point here. So now this is the selector. We can change the frequency. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 14, 18. We'll go up to like 30 hertz. You can kind of start to hear the vibrations. There's no water in there right now. This is all low volume, so all the things that you're controlling are really like way down here, you know. The amplifier shouldn't be turned up more than like as loud as all the way down, like pretty much. Like this knob just keeps spinning down here, and even a couple settings of it turning it up is very loud, so we don't need that. So we're just going to leave it on the low setting and do all our controlling right here. This is a much smoother knob anyways. It is definitely better to keep this knob turned all the way to its lowest setting and then use this to control the volume, because this is how you control the images. I'll be going over the pan setups and how to change the pans and frequencies with the pan setups and in a different video. So now that you have all this, you can add your water and dye if you want to, and take pictures. Pretty sure I covered everything with this. It's a pretty basic, kind of simple device. Like I said, they're mainly meant for hooking up a probe and you are testing equipment and stuff with frequencies with an oscilloscope. But we're using it to use it for sound waves. So the highest really you're going to be going up to is probably around 200 hertz. Anything over 200 hertz is fine. You want to do it, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that you have to understand frequencies start to compress themselves down smaller and smaller. So the more space they have, the more fractals you break out. That's why a lot of people probably start to just see a bunch of fractal imagery of checkers and snake patterns in the water, which make actually cool like movements and flows and cycles. So it's still good to use larger pans and maybe add mica powder to see those movements. But there is an indifference of like when you're adding a frequency to a containment versus the compression of its size ratios. So something higher is going to be more compressed, shorter distances. So this is why everything starts to overlap in larger containments. So we'll go over that next and start to use the pans and stuff. So if you wanted to save these settings and you like certain things, like I said, you just change your thing with this button here, go back to save by, well, that's not doing it, but this selector button up here does. And like I said, you can save up to 9 settings, and then you can load all 9 settings just like that. So it's pretty simple little device. They make more complicated ones with 2 channels. This is just 1 channel. I'll probably include a separator, hopefully that will work for the auxiliary port to plug in the frequency generator and a computer, so you can run 2 frequencies at the same time, because when you run 2 frequencies you can do interesting things by slowing down some of the frequencies by them canceling themselves out. So if we're using 75 hertz and we're going to use 75.5 or anywhere in these decimals, you'll start to see the imagery overlap each other and fold on top, where they start to kind of cancel each other out, and you're getting 1 hertz of, you're getting kind of like a weird frames per second perception of how things cancel each other out on top of each other. Technically you're still looking at 75 hertz, but you're slowing it down by canceling itself out on top of itself. So I'm going to go over stuff like that probably when I'm doing the other setup, but this is the basic setup right here. Like I said, they make better ones that are a couple $100 or even $100. There's decent ones for like $70 or $80 that have 2 channels. The only problem is that you have to get an adapter cord that goes from the BNC to the audio output, and you don't want to buy a mono one because they won't plug into the amplifiers. So you always need to get a stereo to a BNC for those frequency generators, or you have to make your own. I usually make my own. They come with a cable that plugs into the BNCs, and then they're like little alligator clips that you can use for testing. I usually cut that off and add my own audio cable to it, so I can plug it into a mixing board and control channels separately. It's kind of how I build the home version, is a mixing board, 2-channel frequency generator, and kind of all this stuff. A little bit more extensive light setup too, and we'll be going over the light setup in another video. All right, thanks.